Welcome to my first Digimon deck profile video, everyone. Feature the Imperialdramon and Mastemon decks. I've built these lists based off of the winning deck list in Japan, since they've had these decks for a while now. These are probably the two most relevant, meta-relevant starter decks we've had since the inception of the game. And I decided to go ahead and film these videos since the EU and Latin America are already getting their decks this weekend. Alright, so let's get right into it. 4 jamming Vmons. This is because it's very aggro. This also works really well with the new Davis and Ken. Essentially what you do is swing with Vmon. It has jamming, so it's more likely to survive as long as it's not like an option or something. And then when you evolve it into something like Lydramon, you can suspend the new Davis and Ken to unsuspend your Lydramon, which then can attack your opponent's security again, and it also has protection because of Armor Purge. Alright, next we have Modoki Benemon. This is just to prevent your opponent from gaining memory. 2 copies is fine. You don't need more than one. I mean, you don't need more than one on the board, and it's only good for certain matchups anyway. But since you have the room, you want to play more control cards like these. Alright, next, the last 2 Vmons we have are essentially searchers. This one lets you add a 2-color as long as one of the color is blue off of the top 4 cards on play. So all your 2 colors in this deck, your Lydramon, your Imperialdramon, your Benemon, and then your 2 different types of Imperialdramon are all half blue. So as long as you see a 2 color, you can add it. Next we have this Vmon on play, reveal top 3, add a card with free in its traits. All your stuff are free except Modoki Benemon and your option and tamers. Everything else is a free attribute, so you can reasonably expect to add something. Alright, Lydramon. This is a very important card because as long as you have a Lydramon, it doesn't matter what other level 4 you have. You can essentially go into your Imperialdramon and your Benemon. You can even play 2 Lydramons together and make it into a Imperialdramon / Benemon. So this is a very important level 4 because it's dual colored. Alright, so next we have the Jamming X Vmon. So this is very good. This is also for the aggressiveness of the decks. You can swing with X Vmon and then hard play a green or hard play a Lydramon and make it into like a Imperialdramon or Benemon, so you can still attack. And then whatever you make it into, because they also have free in their attributes, they're also going to get jamming. Alright, next we have 4 Stingmon. This Stingmon, it's basically a 3-cost hard play level 4, and that's all it's in here for. It's because you can just drop it for 3 costs and not expect your turn to pass over as long as you start your turn and you have like one of these out, and then you can immediately go into Imperialdramon and Benemon. Alright, so next we have Imperialdramon. When Digivolving / when DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less to the bottom of his deck. And when attacking once per turn, unsuspend this Digimon. Now, it's got 8,000, so it's pretty strong, but you really do want this X Vmon underneath to give it the jamming, just for that additional protection. Next, we have Benemon, which I play at 3 copies. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. When DNA Digivolving, that Digimon doesn't unsuspend during his owner's next unsuspend phase. And then its inherited effect is this Digimon gets 1,000 DP for each of its colors. So when you do go into Imperialdramon, it's going to get 2,000 extra power, making the Dragon mode 14 and then the Fighter mode 15. Alright, I'm going to go into Dragon mode first, and then we'll go into Fighter mode, because you want to go into Dragon mode first. So when you Digivolve this, you essentially get to play a level 4 or lower blue Digimon and 1 level 4 or lower green Digimon from this Digimon's Digivolution cost. So you evolve it for a 4 cost, and you essentially get all the components to make a Imperialdramon or a Benemon, which, because of the rules of DNA Digivolve, whatever you call out, whatever you play, you can immediately DNA Digivolve, and that new DNA Digivolve Digimon can attack. Like I said, this deck is very aggressive, not defensive at all, if you can tell, because there's like no blockers in this deck. Alright, Imperialdramon Fighter mode. You want to use the Dragon mode. Once Dragon mode's effect has gone off, it has no other purpose other than to make Imperialdramon Dragon mode for cheaper. So when, I believe it's a 2 cost to evolve, it doesn't say it here, but it's a 2 cost to Digivolve, I believe, when you go fighter mode on top of dragon mode. So when digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 10,000 DP or less to its owner's hand, and then when attacking once per turn, if a blue card is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, unsuspend one of your Digimon. If a green card is in this Digimon's Digivolution card, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So essentially, you swing at their security, then while you're swinging, you suspend one of their Digimon, and then you unsuspend yours, and then you can either attack that Digimon to, you know, presumably get rid of it, or you could swing at your opponent again. Alright, so next we have Hidden Potential Discovered. This is just to make your evolution into something like your Imperialdramon Dragon Mode cheaper, or actually free, if you actually see it. I mean, one copy, so it's not you're not gonna rely on it anyway. 3 Hammer Spark just to fill out the gaps in the deck, and Hammer Spark is always a good card to fill out the gaps, just to gain the memory. Alright, so Mega Death. This also comes in the starter deck. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. So essentially you get rid of something for 5 cost. This is pretty good. You do got to remember that for blue and dual color options, you need to have both colors on the field. So as long as you have, you know, Kin and Davis, or one of the Imperialdramon, or one of the Dinobemon / Pyodramon, you actually meet the requirement. Next we have Davis. 3 Davises. I always like to play 3 of these memory tamers, because like 2 doesn't feel like enough, and then you don't want to clog your deck up with 4, and you want to see these as early as possible. And this is a really good one because you can add 2 cards. You can add a blue and 1 green Digimon to your hand off of the top 3. And then let's see, we got Davis and Ken, which essentially if you have a blue, you gain a memory. If you have a green, you gain a memory. And then when you digivolve into a Digimon with 2 colors, you can suspend the tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. Alright, so just a quick note that if you do have something like Imperialdramon, it does count as both. So you would get the 2 memory. As long as you have one of each color, or something of each color, it does count. Let's see. Alright. The only other thing I want to talk about is, the eggs. Alright, Demi-Vemon. When attacking, if this Digimon has jamming, draw 1 card. Now guys, remember with DNA Digivolving, if you, let's say you put it underneath, let's say this X-Vemon. When you swing with X-Vemon, you do get the draw. And then when you throw down a Stingmon, whatever, DNA Digivolve it into Pyodramon or Dinobemon, and it has jamming because of, you know, this X-Vemon, the ability does reset. So you do get to draw again when you swing. So that's very important. I only play 4 because this is a very aggro deck. You're not expected to, like, I mean, it's either you finish them or they finish you. There's not a lot of defense to this deck. A lot of decks right now don't even play any blockers. They're just doing their own thing and hoping, you know, you can outpace your opponent. Alright, okay, the only other thing I want to add is I think there are a couple of decks that do play, what was it called? Kaiser Nail. So if you wanted to change out anything, you can play Kaiser Nail. Essentially what people do with Kaiser Nail is when they make their Imperialdramon fighter mode, when they make their first one, you can play Kaiser Nail to pull out your dragon mode, and then use then make a new Imperialdramon fighter mode. So as long as you make the first stack normally, this effect should still be completely active, you know, with your like a Pyodramon or a Dinobemon, because presumably you've already called out your level 4s. So both effects should still be active. And then when you make your new fighter mode, both effects will be active because Imperialdramon Dragon mode is both blue and green. And then the only other card that I've seen some people play is Giga Death. It is another option that I believe it's a 9 cost. You can rest one of your opponent's Digimon and then put back, I think, like 10 of your opponent's rested Digimon to like their deck or something like that. Yeah, it's very powerful, but I don't know if you really need to wipe out that many. For a 9 cost, I mean, you can toss in 1 or 2. I've seen a lot of decks toss in 1 or 2, but my personal choice is Mega Death, just because I don't want to give my opponent that much memory. Alright, and that's all I have for the Imperialdramon deck. So if that's all you came to look for, you can log off. Or, you know, you can watch me explain the Mastemon deck, which is far more expensive to build, even though, you know, both of these decks come out of starter decks mainly for the core. Alright, so we got 4 Tapirmon. This is essentially just a draw. You need to draw really quickly early game with this deck. So we got 4 Tapirmon on deletion. You swing, presumably it dies, and then you trigger the draw 1. Gazemon, it's your opponent can't gain memory, just like the what's it called, Modoki Benemon. Same thing. Lydramon, you want to drop cards, so you draw 1, then trash 1 from hand, very standard. Tsukaimon, on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel, and return the remaining. Yeah, that's very standard. I play Wizardmon. There's a lot of builds for this deck. There was like an Eismon variant, which isn't viable anymore since it essentially relied on spamming the Eismon, and you actually draw because of the scatter mode, and then you ditch the Eismon, make the Eismon, evolve it into your purple Lady Devimon, essentially doing more draw. Well, that's not really that viable. I mean, you can still play the Eismon scatter mode. Alright, next we have the most important level 4. This is what every deck plays 4 of. So, essentially, on play, reveal top 3, add a yellow and 1 purple from among them to your hand, place the remaining on bottom, and then when this Digimon would Digivolve into a Digimon with Archangel or Fallen Angel, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 2, which is really good. But the main point is the end of turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card in your hand by paying its DNA Digivolution cost. Essentially what you do is you evolve this into one of your ultimates, and then you hard play a ultimate by paying its full cost, and even though the turn passes over, you can DNA Digivolve, and that is very important at that stage because that's when you make your Mastemon, which then you can control your opponent. Alright, but we'll get more into that later. So, Magna Angelmon, these are hitting like $40, and this is one of the reasons I mean, this deck is so expensive, but on play, trigger, recovery +1. That's basically it, but the fact that you can spam this multiple times, you hard play this, you want effects that basically hard play. You hard play this, you get a recovery +1, and then you DNA Digivolve, which is just amazing. Most of the decks I've been seeing do play Lady Devimon, essentially for the draw 2 and then discard 2. It's essentially draw 3 since you get 1 on Digivolution. And then there are a lot of options in this deck, so when you do use an option, you can delete one of your opponent's level 3. That's not really that important. I mean, it's nice to have. Lydramon Chaos Mode. Alright, 3 Lydramon Chaos Mode. These are like $30 now. Another very expensive piece to this deck. So when you play this, you essentially delete one of your opponent's Tamers or level 6 or lower Digimon. This is great. And this is one of the reasons you want to trash as many cards early as possible, because you can play this for cheaper, because for every 10 cards in your trash, reduce the memory cost when playing this by 3. But what's most likely to happen here is you're going to play this either off of like Dead or Alive, or Mastemon's own effect. Alright, so next we have Angelmon, which on play, one of your opponent's Digimon gain security -2. And then inherit effect, when you have a purple Digimon, this thing gets security +1. Yeah, I mean, you really do want all the on plays. The only thing you really want to Digivolve into is Lady Devimon. I mean, if you have to make something else, whatever. But you essentially want to Digivolve up 1 to Ultimate and then hard play the rest, which is why all these Ultimates have on play skills. Alright, so the most important piece of the deck, Mastemon. So when Digivolving, place 1 yellow or purple Digimon from your trash on top of your security stack. Then, if you DNA Digivolve, you may search your security stack for 1 level 5 or lower Digimon and play it without paying its memory cost. Which, you know, means you play a Magna Angelmon or like a Lydramon or Angelmon, which then all trigger effects. Probably in the order of, you know, best to worst effect. Chaosmon, or not Chaosmon, Lydramon Chaos Mode to delete a Tamer or a level 6 or lower, which is a Mega. So you can, you know, play this for free and destroy a Mega or a Tamer. Then you got the Magna Angelmon, which then, you know, obviously recover +1. Or if you really need it, or you don't have any other choice, the Angelmon just to get the security -2. Alright, but what makes this card even more of a threat is this all turns, when you play another Digimon using an effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon whose level is less than or equal to the play Digimon's level. Which means you can destroy a level 5 or lower immediately after. This deck is so control. Like, this is basically new security control. Remember when security control just hard played a bunch of stuff? Yeah, well, this is basically the same thing. And then it has its own recovery engine, which in the Magna Angelmon, and it has more control now. So instead of having you crash into option cards in the security that destroy your stuff, they can just pull out stuff that destroy your stuff and keep the Digimon, which is a much better like security control. All right, I'm gonna skip X Antibody Omnimon for now and go into Omnimon Zwart Defeat. Zwart Defeat, you can, once you're done with your Mastemon, you can either make a Zwart Defeat, but this is actually mainly in the deck because of its security effect, because you can play this with, if it's in security, and that does trigger Mastemon's effect. To when you play another Digimon using effect, you're playing it off of this Zwart Defeat's own security effect. So you do trigger Mastemon to essentially kill anything. It's level 7. It does not get any higher than level 7. And then it does have the, when Digivolve and delete one of your opponent's tamers. So if you really needed it, you could, get rid of a Mastemon and then, just destroy it, pop another tamer. What's really scary is you able to build multiple Mastemons. I mean, you're halfway there once you make the first one. Once you make the first one, you get a ultimate, so you literally just got to hard play one more and DNA Digivolve again. Alright, and then Omnimon X Antibody is in here, if you needed it, so you can evolve it onto your Zwart Defeat for like a 3 cost, and then it has this, every time you attack, you can destroy something with 15,000 or lower DP. You're not really going to use it for its Trash 2, because it's unlikely you're going to get to that point. For you to really take advantage of that, you would have to make your first Mastemon normally, and then, evolve into Zwart Defeat, and then make it into an Omnimon X Antibody. I don't see that happening that often, and, I mean, there are still options that can destroy, like this Omnimon X Antibody doesn't have any protection of his own from options, so I mean just attacks. Alright, next we have our option cards. Alright, so we play 3 Underworld Call, because when you trash this, if you say you don't need it, you trash it, you can draw one. If you do need it, you play a level 4 or lower Digimon, which if you have a Mastemon out, you can play a level 4 or lower and then kill a level 4 or lower on your opponent's side. And then if this card is in the security, you activate that same skill. So as long as you have the Mastemon out, you kill a level 4 or lower based on what you call out. Dead or Alive, same reason. Play a level 5 from your trash without paying its memory cost. But if you have 10 or more in your trash, you can play a Lydramon without paying its memory cost instead. So if you play Lydramon, Lydramon's going to come out and destroy a Tamer or a level 6. And then because of Mastemon, you can destroy a level 5 or lower. Very, very aggressive control deck. Alright, next we have 2 Matt Ishida. You really don't want to play TK in this deck. There is not a lot of yellow for you to grab for TK. I mean, you can, but remember, guys, if you don't grab a yellow card, you're basically down 1 damage. You're down 1 security because you do not get to recover +1 if you do not grab a yellow. So the number of yellow in this deck is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. 13 yellows. I mean, mathematically, you're expected to get, it's a 50 card deck, 5 cards in security. 1 out of 5 should be a yellow, but I mean, if you want to risk it. But I much rather recycle one of these purple cards that you're going to be tossing away. Alright, and then next, Analog Youth. Analog Youth is like perfect for this deck. On play, reveal top 3, add a Digimon. Okay, yeah, adding cards is nice, but what's really cool is when one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution is deleted, you may suspend this tamer if you do gain 1 memory, and then go ahead and hatch another egg. All you have is like level 5. I mean, yes, it does need stuff with a Digivolution, so as long as you play your level 5, then you make it into your, go ahead and play another one, make it into your Mastemon, you can like go ahead and hatch an egg quicker, so you can go ahead and make another Gatomon, etc. go into your next play. Alright, so oh yeah, eggs, same 4 eggs, Demi Marimon, just for the draw and drop on delete. All right. Let's see. Cards that you can swap out. So one, you can play the Hell Scythe Flame that comes out in the set, which essentially minus 6,000 power on one of your opponent's Digimon, and then you can play something with 6,000 or less, which essentially is your Angelmon and Magna Angelmon, which then triggers both their effects, which this one is the one you really want to get the recovery +1. I mean, you could also play your Gatomon, etc., and anything lower, but like the fact that these are very specifically like weak enough, weak enough actually being an advantage over here. 6,000, 6,000, you can actually play it off of Flame Hell Scythe. And it's a 6 cost option, and because you can play, you know, Magna Angelmon and Angelmon as their level 5s, Mastemons will trigger, which then, you know, destroy a level 5 or lower. Other cards you can play, let's see, what other, I know there are other builds in Japan that I really wanted to discuss. So other than Onimon Zwart, there are some decks that don't play Zwart. What they do, it was play defeats, Zwart defeats. No, not Zwart defeat, just regular Zwart, my bad. So essentially, you make your Mastemon, then you play your regular Zwart, and Zwart will let you, and your Mastemon, when you play your Mastemon, you pull out the ultimate you're going to play would be a yellow ultimate. So this way, when you go into Zwart, and you essentially play level 5 purples, you can make another Mastemon, or, you know, presumably you swing, pop the Mastemon back to your hand from underneath Zwart, and then DNA Digivolve and make another Mastemon, which then gives you another, column, or another Digimon. So you would end up with 3 Digimon for essentially just the cost of playing your Zwart. And I saw there were a lot of early deck profiles that played that with Mega Digimon Fusion to essentially make it, you know, cheap and, well, free. That is no longer viable, as in the Mega Digimon Fusion, because it's banned. But you can still build it with the Zwart if you want to go that route. I mean, you wouldn't even have to take Zwart Defeat out completely. I mean, you could swap out this Onimon X Antibody for Zwart. I don't know. It seems a little too clogged for my taste. I like the X Antibody just for assured board removal, because you can destroy for the equal to its attack or less. So it's just the extra board removal. But if you don't want the X Antibody, I say you can swap it out. Again, with the mat, if you personally don't like mat or whatever, you can swap it out for TKs. And that is all I have for these deck profiles. Guys, put down in the comments below what you think of these. Thank you. Thanks for watching.